Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in. This clock is something I'm going to be restoring on camera. Now, if you saw the original intro to all of this, I'm going to be restoring 5 pieces of furniture and selling them on eBay, and there will be links to each sale, and 100% of the sale for these items will go towards the Motorneurone Disease Association. As you'll have seen in the first video, and I won't go through it all again, I've got reasons for supporting MND. So without further ado, this is a Victorian wall clock, or station clock as some people like to call them. It's not in bad structural order, I have to say. It's just very dirty, and I bought it without really seeing A, what the condition of the back was like, or if it actually worked. So there's still a bit of trepidation going on. The actual structure of the clock itself is good. Where these have all been glued together, all these sections around the outside of the clock, there's not any due concern for me there. The back of the box is all in good order. The one thing I have noticed is that the pegs that hold the front frame into the back box, there's one missing down here. So I'm going to have to turn one of these, which shouldn't be a great drama. So I think rather than sort of getting it all cleaned up and finding out how much work I've got to do to clean it, I think we'd better find out whether it actually works. I mean, this is the key that came with it, and you can see there's a bit of, you can see where somebody's been holding on to that and turning it and making it all polished. What we've got inside is the pendulum, which is detached from the workings itself. But even that's all quite bright, and my best guess would be that this bezel round here would have been the same as in very bright when it was first made. I'm going to decide whether I polish that bezel at a later date. Right at this moment I just want to keep that front on. So there are 2 doors. There's one door there and there's one door on the other side here. That gives you access to get to the pendulum, but I want to see a little bit further into the clock than what I see just through those holes there. Now in the bottom here also there is what looks like a keyhole, and that is the bottom door. So you know, you can get at the pendulum from the bottom and access to the workings from each side. So carefully thought out when they made this. However, I want to get this front off. Now before I start going too far, I don't really want to have any risks with this. So what I'm going to do is take off the glass and the bezel that holds it. There are 2 screws here in a 3-screw hinge. So somebody's already had a go at this at some time, because when you put a screwdriver into a screw and the screwdriver is too small for the slot in the screw, invariably if you slip with the driver you'll get a burr of metal come off the edge, which is a bit of a giveaway on this. So at some point, it might have been 10 years ago, who knows, at some point this has had a little bit of attention. It might have just been to tighten up the screws, who knows. So let's get these out. I will put 3 screws back in it, but I don't want to cause too much trouble for myself here, because this brassware has been soldered onto the hinge, or the hinge onto the brassware, and old solder is notoriously brittle, and I just don't want to make myself a load more work. This screw is actually bent. I'm going to turn the screwdriver to match it. Right, let's see if it'll come out. No. It is really important to have loads of different screwdrivers to hand when you do this, because I hate to see where somebody's put new screws in an old hinge on a piece of furniture or an old clock like this. So there we are, there's the clock glass, and it is the original old glass because I can see the distortion in it. So that's got to be cleaned, but I'm just not sure how much yet. So let's pop that to one side. I'm going to put it on its front face gently down there. So now we're left with the clock face. So let's take these pins out. Right, there we go. Pop them on there. So that should lift off now, like that. Right, it's a relatively clean workings inside. It really is very clean. There's a bit of a method to how you oil these, and it's not just a case of getting the oil can and squirting it all around. That much I do know. But there are cogs down the front here, and there are cogs on there, and that's the winding mechanism below that bigger hub just there. That looks to me like the chimer. But I am no horologist, and big hands up to all those people that know how to repair clocks. If it's got wood around it, I can repair it, but when it comes to the actual workings of a clock, get an expert to look at it if it doesn't work. If you have a clock that's working, it will need a little bit of oil, and what I will do before this goes in for auction is not necessarily have it checked over, because if it keeps good time, I'm quite happy to let it go. But I am going to oil it, and I'll show you how I do that. All of this back around here and the actual box itself won't get much of a clean, because that's part of its history. You know, it's gained all that, I wouldn't call it patina, because nobody's sort of rubbed the greasy hands around the back to create a nice glossy finish, not like a handrail on the staircase. So it's not patina, but it's muck from over the years, so you leave it there. You don't clean it off. It's like you wouldn't clean the back of a chest of drawers. You leave it as it is. So we've got a clock that, I've got to be honest with you, that is much brighter than I ever expected it to be. But we've got to get the pendulum on it. So this is the pendulum. And what happens is that hole there slots over that pin. Then that top there, where you've got a pin going through a flexible piece of metal, drops into this wedge here. I'm just looking, that flexible bit of metal has actually been bent at some time, and it might well have been while it was flapping around in the box as it went from the last home to me. That might be my fault, but I'm guessing not, because I was very careful with it. So what we do is we slot that on there, and we slot that over there like that, and there you have it. That's the pendulum. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try and, using the pendulum as the guide to the clock being vertical, I'm going to wind this clock up. Now I might be in for a bigger bill yet, because if this has to go to a horologist, I don't know what I'm in for costs wise, but let's see if the seller was telling the truth. Not winding it up much, just want to see if it goes. This isn't looking good. Right, I'm taking that off a minute. I don't want any more damage. It doesn't seem to me at this stage, with my knowledge, like it's doing what it should. So what I'm going to do is spend a bit of time looking into these workings to see whether there is actually anything that I'm missing. I mean, there is a guy, Kirsty's fella, who I have on Facebook, who has already said that if I need any help with this, he'll very kindly have a look at it for me. So that's great news to me, because this has got to get done for Christmas, and we're only a week and a bit away from Christmas as it is now. So I've left myself a bit of pressure with these workings, and as much as you can see that working now, I don't know why it's not working when the pendulum's going. Can you see it going back and forth? Oh, it stopped. So there's a reason that people that work with clocks. It's because they understand them. Give me a bit of wood and I'll restore it for you, but when it comes to the workings like this, you've really got to know what you're doing. So fingers crossed I haven't bought a pup, but even if I have, I'm sure Kirsty's fella will mend it for me. So I'm going to set this clock up on its back in its box, and I'm going to set it up flush and vertical. I'm going to leave it overnight and see if when I set the pendulum going I can get it to go properly. You see, at the moment I haven't got this on a vertical face. All I'm doing is holding it and trying to judge the pendulum in relation to the back of the clock workings, that it's true and plumb. So I'm going to set that up now, see how we go on, and I'll come back to you in a bit. Right, what I've decided to do here, I've had a bit of a think about this. We've not given this clock a really good chance yet, because I was just holding it. It might not have been level, it might not have been true, or as my son says, facing north, whatever that means, I don't know. However, what we've decided to do is set this clock up so that it's vertical and also hung as it would be on a wall. And so to do that, my wonderful my wonderful assistant, when he decides to come through here, here you go, dear. Thank you very much. Very good of you. What we've decided to do, oh for goodness sake, is set the clock up as it would be set up on a wall. The reason for us doing this is because now that I've taken the pendulum off and it's laying flat like this, it's been ticking away like a good un, and in rapid time it's just made about an hour while I've been waiting 15 minutes for Ben to knock up this. And so what I'm going to do is put this back together. I don't want this to all fall apart at this stage of the day. Put that in there and that in there. Turn it around slightly so I can see what I'm doing. Right, it's stopped working now. It's probably because it's not facing north. Oh, I've got a gammy left arm, so apologies for this. I should have done it the other way around. Right. Oh, here we go. It sounds like it's on an F1 track now. Flipping heck. Can you hear that? It's going bonkers. Anyway, that's fairly, well, that's very stable there, so thanks for that, Ben. So now on that side, turn this round to this camera so you can see it inside there. You see that working? I've got another camera set up over here. I think that might be working without any assistance from me. It's not too loud either. You know what, Kirsty? I think I've just done your fella out of a job. Don't worry, I'm not going to be any threat to him. The workings of a clock, to me, are not dissimilar to knitting fog with a welding mask on. But to those who know them, brilliant. I admire you. I think we've struck gold here. I think this works. Oh, come on, switch off. Right, let's close that up. You never know. Tomorrow morning that could still be ticking, and if it does, I'm just going to give it a very, very gentle blow down inside, and then I think we can start to consider, first of all, cleaning the glass and the bezel, and cleaning the face of the clock, and then ultimately the outside perimeter here, and then these turnings where there's one missing, I've got to get on the lathe over there and turn one of those down. Then it'll be a wipe down, well, a brush down of the box at the back where the workings are held. Put it all back together, and then I think it's going to be ready for eBay. But that's a few hours on yet. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to have some tea. I'll see you tomorrow. Morning, everybody. I'm sorry to say that me getting all excited yesterday about the pendulum swinging and the clock hands moving, I thought that happy days, the internals work. However, I stayed a little later last night just to see what was going to happen, and I came up after about an hour and it had stopped. Pendulum was just still moving slightly, but the workings had stopped. So I spent a long time last night trying to understand the workings of a clock from various, let's say, books, for want of a better word. So I've got a few books on clocks, but mainly to do with the faces, not the internals. I came back up and I found that I think that where there's a chain that goes around here, it goes from one drum onto another drum, and the drum that it goes onto from the cone is locked. Now I don't know whether it's locked because there's a method of locking them to protect the clock and it's dropped into a protection mode. I doubt, but you never know. Or it might just need a really good going over and lubrication. But either way, I'm not doing it. I have huge respect for other people and their trades, and on camera I'm not dipping into anything like that. Not because I'm frightened of making a fool of myself, it's insulting to those that know. So I haven't got a clock workings that I can take apart to understand how everything works. That might be something that I've got to do for the future. But what I am going to do is take it over to a fella, Kirsty's fella, Peter, has very kindly said that he'll have a look at it for us. I don't know whether he's going to be able to mend it. The internals might be knackered. Who knows? However, I'm taking it over to him now, and he's going to have a look. Now I have a feeling that he's not going to want to be on camera at his home where I'm taking it, so we're not going to go over and film it. However, I'm going to try and get him to bring it back. Because credit where it's due, I mean, he might be camera shy, a bit like myself, but he might be happy to stand here with me and say, look, this is what's gone wrong. And if it has gone wrong inside and he's been able to mend it, then it's a big up to Peter, and all horologists out there that know more than I do. So I'm off, and I'll be back later on to start with the frame. Hopefully it'll take the front out of it and I can come back with the woodwork. See you in a bit.